Manchester United fans are worried. Is Kobbie Mainoo injured? There's videos of training going on, and Mainoo is absent from all these training videos, and a lot of young academy midfielders have been called up to first team training. Will Mainoo be available versus Crystal Palace? Well, we do have some updates on that. We're going to talk about Manuel Ugarte as well, because if Mainoo is injured, Manuel Ugarte will play for Manchester United. What does Carrick had to say on Ugarte, who's only had 22 minutes under Michael Carrick, I believe? Casemiro is angry with Ratcliffe. We're going to talk about Ratcliffe's comments on the player that obviously aged like milk, and obviously Casemiro has every right to be mad. Maguire set to sign a new deal, Manchester United being linked with Morgan Gibbs-White, and obviously one of the bonuses of having Carrick for Manchester United players. Hello, and welcome back to Alice Talks Football, and welcome back to your 10-minute Manchester United news, transfer news, and update roundup show. But I'm going to round up all the latest Manchester United news, stories, and more in 10 minutes for you guys. There's not loads and loads of news. I always feel like Saturday is a slow news day if we play on the Sunday. It's more just like sort of team news and stories here and there and comments from people. Obviously, we have the Crystal Palace game tomorrow. Let me know what your starting 11 would be. Would you start Sesko? I'd start Sesko, to be honest. And I'd probably I think I'd do Sesko, Cunha, and Bumo, maybe. Maybe Ahmad off the bench, but then Cunha's been pretty influential off the bench. Who would be your front three? I feel like that's really difficult to choose, but I feel like it's a game for Sesko, but then I feel like Ahmad is a little bit more electric, but then Mbumo's clinical and Cunha's really good at holding the ball. It's really hard to choose that front three, but I think that's a good position to be in. But enough of my waffling. I'm just intrigued to know who your front three would be. Let's get into the news. So, Solly said, Karma, last I heard, there was an injury concern with Mainoo. Let's see if he's in the squad tomorrow. The positive atmosphere within Carrington continues with some reasonable confidence going into the game. Carrick and Co know a place for top three is available. Tomorrow's game is huge because we win, we go third. Third is great. Third's a good position to be in. If we lose, we could go into fifth below Liverpool because of goal difference. Not so good place to be in. So obviously Liverpool have got the goal difference up. So obviously we really want to win tomorrow. Palace playing midweek, Palace being in poor form, us being at home. The expectation is we should win, but Kobbie Mainoo would be a huge blow. So why are people saying Kobbie's injured? Why is there rumours that Kobbie's injured? Where has this Sully tweet even come from? Man United posted the training video. No one could see Mainoo in the training video. A lot of the young midfielders like Fletcher and Fitzgerald have been called up to first team training, which suggests that maybe Mainoo is out. Now, Mainoo could be in the gym. Mainoo might have had a day off. Mainoo could be fine. Look, Sully said he's not heard anything. Let's see if Mainoo's in the squad tomorrow. It might be one of those where maybe he's had a little knock. He's out the squad tomorrow. He's back in a week. Man United aren't concerned. We might get an update on it tomorrow. But as of now, there isn't an injury concern around Kobbie Mainoo. So potentially he was just in the gym and he just wasn't in the clips in training, or maybe United being precautious about something. Of course, it's a huge blow. Crystal Palace are going to play a nasty low block. We're going to need to be able to break them down. Kobbie Mainoo has been one of our best players since Michael Carrick has come into Manchester United. He's been really key. I thought he was our best player in the West Ham game, which wasn't the best game, but he was trying to make things happen and he retains the ball well. Ugarte is a big drop-off from Kobbie Mainoo in possession, and we're going to have to break Palace down. But I trust Michael Carrick and I trust the players we have enough to be able to beat Palace, even without Mainoo. Carrick said on Ugarte that he likes Manuel Ugarte a lot. He's been terrific around the group with his attitude and how we go about it. Training qualities, he's got a lot of attributes when the team is winning, and there's a big upside to that. And what I will say is Ugarte plays his best football with Casemiro. When Ugarte's come in Casemiro's place, he's been a train wreck. But when Ugarte's come in and played next to Casemiro, he's actually been all right for us, because for me, Ugarte, he's a pressing trigger. You don't want Ugarte in our own third. You don't want him in our own third. People will just press him, he gives the ball away. But because if he plays with Casemiro, Ugarte can play a bit higher up the pitch. Ugarte is quite good in the other side of the pitch because he's very electric. He can win the ball back. You just don't want him to be pressed, and you don't want him to be the first sort of passing option in build-up. So because Casemiro will be the deeper of the two, Ugarte can play further up. And I think Ugarte's best football comes when he's allowed to be more of an 8 next to Casemiro. So I'm not super worried. And again, Ugarte's got energy, he works hard. And one of the things I like is you look at Ugarte, you look at Sesko, you look at Xerxes, they're not starting games. but they understand the situation. We're winning games even if they're not starting, so they're not complaining about it. They just know that if they get their opportunity, they're going to do the best they can. And I like that a lot of the players aren't complaining that Carrick isn't playing them. They're just getting on with it, and that's the mentality you need. So let's talk about Casemiro. Why is Casemiro angry with INEOS, or Jim Ratcliffe to be specific? So obviously, Jim Ratcliffe said a couple years ago that basically Manchester United have done a lot of bad business and used Casemiro as an example. How can you spend 60 million on Casemiro and give him these kind of wages, la la la. Now, to be fair to Jim, at the time, Casemiro, despite having a brilliant first season, was having a very poor second season, and the 350k a week and the 60 million, it was looking pricey. But Man United done some awful business. Yes, Casemiro was a lot. Yes, Casemiro's high wages, but he's nowhere near any of the other awful business we've done. He's nowhere near the bad level of Anthony, the bad level of Sancho. And it was said, and actually Casemiro has proven, Casemiro had a really good year, a bad year, and he's had a good year and a half. And Casemiro has proven his class. Casemiro has proven his quality. Casemiro, for me, is not a flop. Casemiro is getting a 7 out of 10 for me. I know he fell off in the second season, but he was misused. I think if you gave Casemiro legs, there's an elite level player there. He's a 7 out of 10 signing for me, even though he was spending. But it was said that well-placed sources said Casemiro felt disrespected by Sir Jim Ratcliffe's comments last March, as he was one of 5 players INEOS regime had inherited. It's rude when you think about it. Where would we be without Casemiro this season? Like, when you look at how influential Casemiro has been this season, how good we've been with Casemiro on the pitch, and how bad we've been with Casemiro off the pitch, when you actually look back at it, and it's aged like milk. Casemiro is one of those players we inherited because he's on high wages, la la la. Oh my, we wouldn't be where we are right now without Casemiro this season. He's been our most important player after Bruno. He holds that DM position together. And yes, he's on crazy wages. Yes, he did have a year that he fell off when Ratcliffe made those comments, and context is important. But Casemiro has proved everyone wrong. And I think to say, he's a player that we inherited as if it was a bad player from INEOS is mad when you look at it now, because he's been arguably top 3 best players this season. Second most important. He's been so key. I think the playing 1 game a week has been really beneficial for Casemiro. So I could see why he's annoyed. It's quite mad to think that Jim Ratcliffe made those comments about current players at the club. Like, he as owner, he made those comments about current players at the club. I get making those comments about players that have left the club, but current players at the club, Jim Ratcliffe sometimes needs to shut his mouth. Sometimes he just needs to shut his mouth. He needs a bit of PR training or something. But yeah, Casemiro has been so good this season, and I could see why he'd be annoyed by Ratcliffe's comments, especially now when he's been so important. And look, it's going to be hard to find a good replacement for him. Now, one of the reasons I don't want Maguire to go is because we're losing a leader in Casemiro, that I feel like having Maguire and Bruno stay for experience and leadership would be important. I think if we lost all 3 in the same window, it would be catastrophic, particularly Bruno Fernandes. Simon Sloan said that multiple sources believe a resolution will be found with Maguire's contract and he will stay at United. Nothing agreed yet, but apparently Man United are happy to keep Maguire another year if a lower salary can be agreed. Apparently Maguire really wants to stay another year at United. The expectation is, even though nothing's done, Maguire will stay. He will stay at United for another year or 2. They're working on a new deal. They're trying to agree on wages and all of that stuff. Continuing on, we have been linked to Morgan Gibbs-White. Chris Wheeler and Nathan Salt of the Daily Mail said that Manchester United have joined Premier League clubs monitoring Morgan Gibbs-White's situation at Nottingham Forest. I like Gibbs-White, good player, not priority for me. Priority needs to be like a Tonali Anderson type player, and then to replace Casemiro, a Matheus Fernandes type player to replace Ugarte. And look, if Mason Mount goes, Morgan Gibbs-White's the perfect replacement for me. Don't know if he could fill the boots of Bruno Fernandes. I don't think anyone could. But he's someone like, if we need number 10, you go for him. But and obviously he can play 8, but my priority would be trying to get one of Anderson or Tonali and then going for Matheus Fernandes personally. But I do like Morgan Gibbs-White. He's a good player. And look, if we could sell Mason Mount and get Morgan Gibbs-White, I'd be quite happy with that for depth as well. And I think he could play with Bruno and he can stay fit. And I think he's better than Mason Mount. Last but not least, James Ducker of The Telegraph said that apparently Amorim had a predominantly young set of staff. And one of the criticisms was that they would often wait for his signal to speak up rather than challenge or disagree with Amorim. They said with Michael Carrick, he's brought in really experienced backroom staff who are ready to speak their mind and disagree with him. And I thought it was an interesting comment from James Ducker, because I sometimes think Amorim was making mistakes that all of us could see, but he wasn't changing it. Whereas with Michael Carrick, when we're seeing, oh, that's not working, he does change it in game, and maybe that's because he's got experienced coaches that he's listening to and giving him advice, whereas Aaron's coaches kind of listened to him and didn't challenge him. So I thought it was interesting from James Tucker, and I thought I'd include that, and interested to hear your thoughts on that, and if you think that will make an impact on why we're doing better now. But anyway, that is your 10-minute news roundup. Thank you for watching. If you did enjoy today's video, feel free to hit the like button. You're welcome to subscribe if you're new. I'll be back with a match reaction to United Palace tomorrow. Please win.